Hi, welcome to the Chubby Chef. I'm Kyle, and today we are going to be baking. Most of you who know me know that I'm not much of a baker. I'm a cook, mostly self-taught. I do have some experience in a commercial kitchen, but baking is not something I do very often. It's not something I really like to do, but if you're going to cook, it's good to have at least a little bit of baking experience in your back pocket, because you never know when you're going to need to make a puff pastry to go with something savory, or if you want to make a dessert to go with, if you have a meal that's incomplete without a dessert. So today we're making cranberry shortbread bars. For two reasons. One, because the recipe looks pretty simple, not a lot of ingredients. Two, because I happen to have all the ingredients. And three, because it's something I've never done before. So it's a little bit of a challenge. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. We're going to do this in steps, so it'll be easy. So let's begin. First, I'm using fresh cranberries. You can use frozen. I prefer fresh, but you got to be careful when doing fresh, because oftentimes you're going to find these little guys that are mushy and soft. You want to make sure to pick these out. These are no good. These are garbage. You want to have nice, firm cranberries to use. In this case, 2 1/4 cups of cranberries, which need to be washed, which I'm going to do right now. So let's get on with that. Alright, so here we have the cranberries soaking in water. They've been soaking for a couple of minutes now. Fun fact, cranberries float. That's how they're harvested, because when they're ripe, they float to the top, and you can just grab them out of the lake. So they're ready to go. Just got to rinse them off now. Okay, sorry for the dogs. When I said rinse, I meant dry. So I got them in a colander here. I'm just going to give them a little shake so the water gets shaken off, and we're good to go. So cranberries go into a pot, like so, along with 3 tablespoons filtered water. Okay, 2/3 of a cup of white sugar. Over here. All spilled there. Alright, 2/3 of a cup of white sugar. It's going to be very sweet. Cranberries are very tart, so this is going to help cut that tartness. This then goes onto the oven, or the stove, and you have to bring it to a boil. Once it's boiling, you let it gently boil for about 5 minutes, just until it gets all soft and syrupy. And then you got to let that cool. While it's cooling, we're going to start making the shortbread. So I've started heating up the cranberries, sugar, and a little bit of water. There's already water on the cranberries because I didn't do a very good job drying, so it's going to be a little bit thinner, but that's okay. It's going to thicken up into a nice syrup with soft cranberries once this is done. So that's going to take probably, 5 minutes to boil, and then 5 more minutes to simmer. So I'm not going to make you watch that for 10 minutes. So I'll get everything out for the shortbread, and I'll be back with you. Alright, so now we've got our cranberries bubbling nicely. That's going to be, like I said, another 5 minutes or so. So while that's happening, let's get started with the shortbread. And while I do that, my handy assistant here is going to set a timer for me. Alexa, set a 5-minute timer, please.
5 minutes, starting now.
Thank you. Actually, before I beat the butter, I should have done this first. I'm going to take 2 cups of flour, all-purpose. That. 1. You can use back of a knife just to level it off, so you know you don't have too much, too little. 2, and then 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. So that went in there. And then just whisk it together. Just with a little whisk, just want it mixed up. This is the dry ingredient that I'm going to be mixing into the wet ingredient in just a moment. So let's get started. It's done. Let's get started with the butter. Alright, so now I'm going to start the actual shortbread. Now, Here's this little trick because I forgot to take the butter out of the fridge. It needs to be at room temperature, but I forgot, so it's cold. So a little trick you can use with cold butter is you use a cheese grater and you grate it. This will not only warm up the butter because of the friction, but it'll chop it up nicely into usable pieces and give you exactly what you need for your consistency. And you'll see that it goes very quickly. It's butter, it's not cheese, so it's much softer, obviously. And it is a little messy, but this is what we have to do when you forget a crucial step. Very greasy. I'm using salted butter. Alexa, stop timer. I really should be using unsalted. It will make a bit of a difference, which is why I'm going to add less salt to my actual recipe. Alexa, stop the timer. Good girl. Here's a part I hate, is when you get to the end and you can't use your foil anymore, you have to use your bare hands. Always wash your hands, folks, especially after this. Alright, I think it's just just the heat from my hands has softened this enough. So, softened butter goes into a bowl. And just get all that out. I know it looks like cheese, but it's not, it's butter. That goes into a bowl. You're going to beat this with a hand mixer. If you have a stand mixer, that works too. If you don't have either, you can use a wooden spoon. A lot more effort involved, but if you don't have either of them, I guess it's a good option. I'm going to wash my hands before I push pause on my video, so bear with me. I would love to be doing this with an actual camera and not my phone. So, you know, Christmas is coming. As I mentioned, I do like to clean up as I go. So, cheese grater is already in the dishwasher, along with the cutting board that I grated on. That way I don't have to worry about it all later. So, I'm going to start beating the butter, and here we go. This is just a personal affectation of mine. When I'm cooking, especially baking, because it tends to make a mess, I like to make sure I clean up as I go along so I don't have a big disaster because, well, anyone who knows me knows I make a mess. So I'm just going to get everything put away now that I don't need any more. Leftover cranberries that I haven't used will go back in the fridge, or they can be frozen if you don't plan on using them right away. And yeah, so I'll finish that up and I'll be back with you in a minute. Oh, quick tip for you guys, if you really want to make it look like you worked really hard, take a little bit of flour, throw it on your face. Girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband comes home, you look like you've been baking all day. Alright, here we go. Okay, and as you can see, I've changed places. I ran out of plugs over there, so we're just going to start slowly. We're going to be beating the butter until we Here's my vanilla. Vanilla. Okay, well, as you can see, I got butter filled in my beaters now, so I gotta scoop that out. I may have overdone it just a tad, but that's okay. As soon as this is out, we're going to add 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar, tightly packed. Always important with brown sugar that it's tightly packed, because it's not like regular sugar that's automatically compressed. Brown sugar is usually pretty loosely packed because there's a lot of moisture in it. So 1/3 cup brown sugar, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. And then we're going to mix that until it is smooth. So that's typically the consistency you're looking for. A nice, smooth, soft. Looks a little brown now because of the brown sugar, which is exactly what we're going for. So now it is time to incorporate the dry ingredients that we mixed earlier, the flour and the salt. So let me set this up right there. Okay, this is the part where a second set of hands really comes in handy, because the flour needs to be added slowly while I beat. So I'm gonna have to do this myself. Wish me luck. This is obviously not working, so I'm just gonna have to pour, stir, because this bowl is just spinning around without a second hand to hold it. So I'll be back. Oh yeah, before I go too much further, you're not looking to make a dough ball like you would for any other type of cookie dough or batter. You want it clumpy and chunky. That's what makes it shortbread. So just keep that in mind. So far, so good. It's clumpy and chunky. I still have a lot more flour to incorporate, so let's keep going. Okay, not exactly what I was thinking would happen, but let's just see what we've got. Okay, alrighty. Okay, so I've decided to finish it by hand. It was way too dry and floury, but as I'm mixing it, it's starting to clump together, which is what I want. So I was a little worried there for a second that I did something wrong and I ruined it, but no, I was going a little bit too fast with the beaters. So I'm doing it by hand now. I'll get it really incorporated and chunky and clunky, and then we'll be able to start baking it. So So now I'm done. This is what it looks like, crumbly and clunky. So now we're going to lay it in a greased pan, 9 by 9 inch square metal pan. If you don't have one, try to do something equivalent. 9 times 9 is 81, so anything 10 by 7. Just try to get like approximate. If it's not a perfect square, a rectangular one, I guess even a round one could work. A 9-inch round pan could work if that's what you're working with. I actually have to find out what I have because I'm not even sure. Okay, so after searching and searching, did not find a 9 by 9, but I found an equivalent size pan. It's a 10.5 by 4.5 or 5. So to prepare it, very easy. I use vegetable shortening. You could use lard, some people do. I prefer vegetable shortening. Paper towel, put it on there, and you take your paper towel and you just wipe the whole thing. Evenly spread that vegetable shortening. This is going to prevent the cookies or the bars from sticking. Very important step. I've forgotten to do this more than once. Usually it's not something you'd forget to do after the first time, but, well, I'm a bozo. So, good and greased. Now we take 2/3 of our dough. Just 2/3, because we need the other third for the top part of the bar. So we take 2/3, eyeball it. I mean, I'm not gonna. That looks about right. Spread it evenly. These aren't going to be particularly thick bars, I can tell. The pan might be a little bit bigger than I hoped for. In cases like that, I could always just pull it back a little bit. It doesn't have to go all the way to the end of the pan if you think the pan's too big, especially when something like this, it's not going to pool out. It's not like a cake batter. It's not going to just fill any space. It'll stay where you leave it. So I'm going to pull it back a bit. But don't do this with any other type of batter, like brownie or even cookie, like regular cookie batter, because those will just spread. A lot more liquid in this. This is very dry. Which is also why I never really liked shortbreads growing up, but my parents love them for some reason. So, we've got our layer of shortbread. Maybe a little bit more. I may have underestimated that. This is now, I'm reading the recipe here. Oh, I have to stab it with a fork a couple of times. Okay, fine, I'll do that. And then it goes into my preheated oven, which I preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 17 to 18 minutes. And that's the first part. And so that means I get a 17 to 18 minute break. And I'll be back with you guys after. Just a reminder, I'm on break right now. Everything's in the oven. There's nothing left for us to do. My cranberry sauce filling is cooling. This last third of shortbread is ready to go. Cleaning. Now is a perfect time to get everything cleaned up. Do the dishes, clean the counters, get any spots off. Leave the flour on your face, because otherwise no one will believe you baked. All right, ciao. All right, 17 minutes has just passed on the timer. It's time to check on our shortbread. So let's take a look. Okay, you're gonna notice that it's not cooked, and that's okay. It's not supposed to be cooked just yet, because now goes the important step of adding the cranberry and then the top layer of shortbread, and then we're gonna bake it for an additional 30 minutes, which should complete the process. So let's get started. Okay, so here's the cranberry filling that we created. Nice and gooey and thick. We're gonna put that right on top, and I'll show you with the camera in a second. I only got 2 hands. But we're gonna put that right on top of the layer that we just baked. In cases like this, it's often useful to have a spatula, because you want to get everything that you can from the sides so you're not wasting anything. My mom would be very proud, because I've never used a spatula like this before. She always blames me for wasting so much because I don't do this, but I figured I put the effort into making it. I'm darn well going to use it all. pretty clean. Now, we're going to spread it evenly. Make sure to leave a border. You do not want the cranberries going all the way to the edge, because if it makes contact with the metal while in the oven, because of the sugar, it will burn. So you leave a little border. It's pretty thick, so it shouldn't move too much. It may move a little bit as it settles, but for the most part, it'll stay pretty much in place. Okay, so that's what you want. That's what you're looking for. A nice little edge around. Now we take the rest of our shortbread, and using our fingers, I have just washed my hands, but I'm going to do it again because I think I may have pet my dog, so bear with me. And I know it doesn't seem like much just to pet your dog, but really, you don't know where he's been, you don't know what people have allergies. It's very important. Soap and water every time. Okay, that's good. Dry my hands off real quick. You don't want wet hands when handling this dough because there's a lot of flour. And now we're just going to take the dough with our hands and just sprinkle it on top. All the way to the edge is fine. That we know is not going to burn. So basically this is going to be the top layer of our cranberry filled shortbread bars, pretty much. I mean, I guess it's the large and small of it, right? Now, I may have made a slight miscalculation earlier in the sense that maybe I didn't use enough of the pan. See how much I left unused there because I thought it was too much, but should be okay. Once all of that is in there, spread it around, give it a little pat down into the filling. Okay, you want to kind of cover as much of the cranberry, sorry, I know my camera is facing away. You want to cover as much of the cranberry as you can, but leave a little bit showing to make it look pretty. But when you cut the bars, you'll see the cranberry filling too. Okay, this is now going back in the oven, this time for 25 to 30 minutes. So let's do 25 and we'll check on it. And if it needs more time, we'll add more time. You can't take away time, but you can add time. Okay, so I'll see you in 25 minutes. All right, welcome back. We have 30 seconds on the timer. 25 minutes, like I said, that's just going to be the low end. We're going to take a look at it and see if it's ready. I just took a quick peek through the glass. Doesn't look ready to me yet, so I'm thinking I'm going to add the extra 5 minutes that to go to 30. But I will let you know in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, and my sous chef here wants to say hi. See, I just pet the dog. I'm gonna have to wash my hands again before touching any food. But I'm not touching any food right now. I'm just looking. Snooki, move out. So you can tell by the color here is the brown that I want. That's good, but that's on the edge. So that's not unexpected. This is too pale, so we're gonna add 5 minutes. All right, I will see you in 5 minutes. All right, we are back 5 minutes later. As you can see, I have prepared a wire rack. This is what we're going to use to cool our shortbreads on. I've already checked it, but I'm going to show you. It's hard to tell the difference, but it is browner, it is golden, it is beautiful. So now all we need to do is let it cool, completely cool. And then we've got cranberry shortbread bars. So thank you all for watching, and I will be sure to post a link for the recipe that I posted in the description, so you can follow that along if you don't want to watch my whole video. And thanks for watching. Bye.